The Bible makes it clear that we are living in the last days and what the last days would look like. And Jesus said to be a discerner of the times. And so we see what the last days are going to be like according to the Bible. Perilous times will come. The people of Israel will be regathered in Israel. Jerusalem will once again be under Israeli control. There will be a rise of false teachers. Disasters will become more frequent, and the gospel will be preached around the world. But what does the Bible say about what's going to happen next? We know that we are living in the last days and that those things are true now, but what is on the horizon today on Hot Topics? Hi, this is Robert Furrow. Welcome to Hot Topics. We're really glad that you found us. If you're new here, consider subscribing and ringing the bell so you can get all of our new videos. The comment section is open below. We would love to hear from you about what you think about the last days. As we look back on history, we see that the Bible has been very effective at telling us what kind of things were going to take place. The Bible gave us a lot of prophecies about the renewal of the nation of Israel, being born again in a day, the language of Hebrew coming back once again, the people coming back into the land, and all kinds of other prophecies about what our days were going to be like. But what does it say about the future? What are the next things that are coming to take place? One of the next things that will happen is the mystery of the rapture. The Bible tells us about this in a couple of places. And it's important for us to realize when we talk about the rapture, it sounds strange. People are going to disappear. They're going to be taken out of the world and others are going to be left behind. But remember, the Bible clearly teaches it. And virtually every believer believes in it. Some believe it will happen at the very end of the age. Others believe it will happen before the tribulation period. But 1 Thessalonians 4:16 through 18 tells us about the rapture. It says, "For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, and the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and we shall always be with the Lord. Therefore comfort one another with these words." That is an undeniable rapture passage. Another one is 1 Corinthians 15:50 through 54. "Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor does corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but will be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible and be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruptible, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible has put on incorruptible, and this mortal has put on immortality, then shall come to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory." So one of the first things that we see happening next is this mysterious rapture of the church. Second is the revealing of the Antichrist. The Bible tells us that at the end of the age, a man's going to come on the scene that is going to sway people so that they believe he's the Messiah. Even the majority of those who are in Israel will believe that he is the Christ. But it will be revealed that he is a man of sin, a man who is called the Antichrist in the scriptures. There's a passage that a lot of people misunderstand. Let me read it to you. It says in 2 Thessalonians 2:1 through 4, "Now, brethren, concerning the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and our gathering together to him, we ask you not to be soon shaken in mind or troubled, either by spirit or word or letter, as if from us, as though the day had come. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself as God." So these Thessalonians had people tell them that the time had come, that they were living in the end times, and it was causing them a great deal of stress. They were looking around at the Roman emperor. They were looking around at the way that the world was, and they thought that they were living in the tribulation period. And so Paul writes them to tell them that you're not living in the tribulation period. If you were, two things would happen. There would be the great falling away. We'll talk about that in a moment. And the man of sin would be revealed. So if you look around you and the man of sin has not been revealed, then you know you're not living in the tribulation period. This passage is not telling us that the man of sin has to be revealed first. It's just telling us that if you think you're in the tribulation period and the man of sin hasn't been revealed, then you're not. This great falling away, some believe to be a reference to the rapture. But the word for falling away is apostasy. It's telling us that in the last days, there's going to be a lot of people who fall away from the faith. I believe we're beginning to see some of those things today. The third is that great falling away that I just talked about. There are a lot of Christian authors and Christian musicians and Christians in general who are walking away from God now. The word apostasy means to fall away. You have to be somewhere first before you can fall away. You're moving away from what you know. And so there are many Christians today that are going down that road, and it's probably going to get a lot worse before the end. It's part of what God has said the last days would be like, and so we're going to see this falling away take place. Don't be distressed when you see it. Number 4, the Antichrist makes a peace treaty with Israel. In Daniel 9:27, it says that he will make a covenant with many for 1 week. And that 1 week there is a week of years, 7 years. It's the same 7-year period talked about by Daniel and talked about in the book of Revelation. It has to do with the people of Israel. And when the Antichrist comes on the scene, he looks like a hero. He makes a peace treaty. He'll break that peace treaty in the middle of the 7-year period, 3.5 years in. And after breaking that peace treaty, there will come the great tribulation that will follow. But in the future, there will be a time when someone makes peace in the Middle East by signing a 7-year peace treaty. Number 5, the Bible tells us that there's going to be a rebuilding of the temple on Mount Moriah. Now, this is an amazing prophecy because there's no way people can see that happening today because the Dome of the Rock sits where we think the temple sat. And so what's going to happen that Israel can rebuild this temple? Both Ezekiel, other places in the Old Testament, and Revelation tell us that the temple's going to be rebuilt and that the Antichrist stops sacrifices from taking place on the temple. Maybe it'll be a treaty that shares the Temple Mount. Maybe a wall will be put up between the Dome of the Rock and the temple that the Jews will build and begin to give sacrifices again. Maybe they'll just take the Dome of the Rock. Who knows? Who knows what will come to pass? But the Bible tells us that there will be another temple built there, and you can be sure that it will take place. Number 6, and this is amazing, that the nation of Israel as a whole is going to receive Jesus as their Messiah. There's going to take a lot in order for this to happen, but the Bible tells us that it will. Listen to Zechariah 12:10. And I will pour out on the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and mercy, and they will look upon me, God speaking here, whom they've pierced. When was God pierced in Jerusalem? When Jesus had his side pierced? Yes, they will mourn for him as one who mourns for an only son, and grieve for him as one who grieves for his firstborn. Israel has rejected Christ today, but they will one day as a nation receive him. Listen to what Romans 11:26 and 27 says. And so all of Israel will be saved, as it is written. The deliverer will come out of Zion. He will turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant with them when I take away their sins. Now, I don't know if that means that every single Jewish person is going to be saved, or if it just means the vast majority of them. But we know that a lot is going to have to take place for these Bible prophecies to come true, but they will. Number 7, Jesus talked about the abomination of desolation. This happens in the middle of the tribulation period, when the Antichrist puts up a statue and demands worship. There was a man in between the Old and New Testament called Antiochus Epiphanes, which was a kind of the Antichrist. And he slaughtered a pig on the altar in the temple. And that was an abomination of desolation. It was a type of what the Antichrist would do. But we know that that's not the fulfillment of it, because Jesus himself said, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel, and that was a couple hundred years after Antiochus Epiphanes, so we know that it still is in our future. Listen to what Daniel 9:27 says. Then he will confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week, he will bring an end to sacrifices and offerings, and on the wing of abomination shall be one who makes desolate. And in Matthew 14:15, Jesus said, therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let them understand, flee. So Jesus says it's in the future. This tribulation period, the time of the Antichrist, will be worse than anything this world's ever seen or anything it will ever see again. It is the pinnacle of evil, and that is yet in our future. We see that God has predicted the things that would happen up to the point we are living, and he predicts the things that will happen afterwards. I hope you've enjoyed this hot topic. If you've liked it, then click the like button, and we'll see you next time on Hot Topics.